Good evening and welcome to our live coverage of the rapidly evolving Middle East situation, where local and regional developments continue to reshape economic conditions, aviation operations, as well as diplomatic engagement. As efforts intensify to stabilize the aftermath of the conflict, attention remains firmly on the Strait of Hormuz and its broader implications for trade flows and regional security. Governments and international partners are balancing cautious reopening strategies with ongoing negotiations aimed at sustaining a fragile ceasefire while industries adjust to persistent uncertainty. The coming weeks will be critical in determining whether coordinated diplomatic and operational measures can support a gradual and lasting return to stability. Before we get started into the full swing of our program, we're going to look at a couple of the latest updates around this issue. As U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said, there has been progress made in discussions with Iran and Oman on getting more ships through the Strait of Hormuz, but no final agreement has been reached so far. Rubio told reporters at the Secretary Department that there's been progress made in those talks, but no finality yet, adding that the U.S. is hoping that will happen very shortly. Before making the statement, Rubio met with Paraguayan Vice President Pedro Aliana to sign the Strategic Civil Nuclear Cooperation Memorandum of Understanding. U.S. embassies in some 10 Middle East countries warned American citizens to exercise caution and, quote, consider departing or be prepared to depart should there be escalation. More details in this report.
Embassies in some 10 Middle East countries warned American citizens to exercise caution and consider departing or be prepared to depart should there be escalation. On their websites, the U.S. embassies in countries including Jordan, Iraq, Egypt, Bahrain, the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia issued similar security alerts. Due to heightened tensions in the Middle East, the security environment remains complex, with the potential for unforeseen escalation, the alert said, adding that Americans in the region should consider departing or be prepared to depart should there be escalation. The embassies advised U.S. citizens in the Middle East to exercise caution and heightened vigilance and be prepared for flight cancellations, periodic airspace closures, and potential travel disruptions. They also advised U.S. citizens outside the region to seriously reconsider travel to and through the Middle East. In a recent post, the U.S. Central Command said a U.S. Army SH-47 Chinook helicopter prepares to land in the Middle East. The Chinook is a tandem-rotor aircraft designed to transport personnel, equipment, and supplies in a variety of environments. Earlier, Iran's media reported that Tehran has prepared an extensive plan to respond to potential attacks on its infrastructure. The plan reportedly involves targeting vital infrastructure and U.S. energy infrastructure in the Middle East.
Joining us live in the studio today is Major General Yousef Almulla, who specializes in risk, crisis, and disaster management. Welcome, Mr. Yousef. Thanks for being with us today.
Likewise, Badriya, I am happy to be here.
Would you like to give us a bit of your background in this field before we get started with the questions as it relates to the topic we're talking about today?
Yeah, I spent 33 years in the service, and most of these years they were in operation side, not technical or admin side. So I was in operation because I was a fighter pilot. I graduated from United States Air Force in 1975, and then came back to Kuwait, and then flown a British airplane, Strike Master, and then I had a chance when Kuwait bought the Skyhawk A4, which is fighter attack airplane. So I joined McDonnell Douglas and the Marines to be qualified in the Skyhawk. Then I became the squadron commander of the 25, which is the Skyhawk fighter squadron. And after liberation of Kuwait, I've been chosen to be in charge of the F-18 as a pilot, and I joined the United States Navy to fly the F-18, and I became the first F-18 squadron commander, and then that's the major point. In 1990 and 1991, I was proud to be one of the pilots and officers who defended Kuwait against the Iraqi aggression. And in June, the 17th of June 1991, I was one of many Kuwaiti brave pilots who flown the first mission to liberate Kuwait. So I have about 50 hours combat time.
MashaAllah. And I imagine you've been quite busy following up with regional events, as it's right up your alley. It's a pleasure to have you with us today.
Yes. I am following the local, region, and few of the major crises in the world because of my specialty in risk crisis disasters management, and I've been doing some media activity to cover these things, so I keep myself up to date on the information and what's happening in the world. Yani.
Great, because we have many questions for you today. Let's start with, as Kuwait sits in one of the region's most strategically exposed regions, could you tell us, based on the current security environment, where do you believe Kuwait's greatest vulnerabilities lie? And missile attacks, drones, cyber warfare, maritime threats, or maybe a hybrid operation?
Well, vulnerability, it is a situation which every country have, not just Kuwait.
Of course.
Super countries have it. There is casualties, there is losses, and it depends on the situation. So not just Kuwait, but I emphasize that every country have it. It is a general issue. It is not concerning a certain country. In peace, the vulnerability is an assumption. So there is no real enemy. So the militaries, they start planning, exercising, and lesson learned. But in war and actual operation time, it is not something that you plan for. It is facts. It is execution and prevention. So during actual operation, you don't have time to think or plan. So that's what you do in peacetime, to be ready in crisis or operation time. That is the first part. And as you said about the missile attack, drones, cyber war, each one of them have its own characteristics. So that's why when a country attack other country, they use a mix, or as you said, hybrid operations. The mix, like a drone, cruise missiles, and ballistic missiles. And we can talk about what's the difference between ballistics, because most of the time they ask me about, okay, ballistics, we have an idea, but there is an Arabic word came to the military vocabulary, which is not the right word, which is, if I may say, جوال, الصواريخ الجوالة. It doesn't fit on the characteristics of the missiles. This is cruise missiles, so the translation is not accurate. So each one of them, from the missiles, drone, cyber warfare, maritime threats, they have their characteristics to fulfill a part in the whole operation to achieve the target. So it is a matter of joint operation between land, air, and maritime operation to achieve a target. So everybody will go in the same direction, but from different aspects. That's the main point. Yani. Now, definitely, if a country doesn't have a seaside, they will not go for maritime. So the geographical situation will lead you to what kind of weapons you should buy and to train, because the geographical position, the terrain, high terrain, flat terrain, this also affect the motion and the mobility of your weapon. So you cannot just buy things that you don't need. And the size of the country definitely also have an issue on that matter. But in general, the defense or the military systems, they work together to achieve the target, as I said. So if there is a missiles or drone or cyber warfare, they all affect the situation. And if you level of using these missiles or weapons or cyber ops, the more you are high qualified, the more you have effect on the other side. So these days we see the drone is taking a big part on the many operations. If we go to the Ukrainian-Russian theater, we'll see there is the two parties using a drone. Now, why they are using the drone? And this, by the way, Stada Badriya, this will put me in a thinking cycle that we have time. If we have time, we can talk about the type of missiles. Why is the drone taking the lead on the operations in the past 2-3 years, and what's happening about the maritime and Strait of Hormuz. So if I may start with the drones. The drones came to be a major issue on the warfare because it's cheap and the parts is available in the market. It is not military part which have a level of security to purchase. So cheap, parts available, launching platforms are no need for airport, no need for so there is flexibility on launching because it is portable, because it's lightweight, and easy to design, and easy to move from one place to another, fast launching capability, small size that the air defense cannot use. And these facts made the drones a major issue in this war. About the missiles, there's many types of missiles. Do you want me to continue, or?
Well, that actually kind of leads me into my next question, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Because it comes up many times in my questions for you. One of the defining features of this conflict has been Iran's layered use of ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, one-way attack drones, and loitering munitions. Could you describe each of these weapons employed differently, and which is the most difficult to intercept?
Oh, I was...
So you were right on target.
Target, yes, yes. So we talked about drones. And then the second one, the cruise missiles. As I mentioned, that there is an Arabic word came in the past 6 months, and everybody asking, is this a new missile? The cruise missile, from the word cruise, it is stable in height and on direction, and definitely once it reach the level, the high level of cruising, then the missile will accelerate, and there is we are talking about ground-to-ground missiles. These missiles, the cruise missiles, they accelerate when they are in high altitude, and some of them are subsonic, less than speed of sound, supersonic, higher than speed of sound, and hypersonic, which is a multi-number, and it may reach 12 times the speed of sound. So they are fast, and they vary in range. There is medium range, short range, medium range, and far range, and continental range.
Intercontinental?
Intercontinental, yeah. And the Iranian side are using the missiles, the cruise missiles, and then so from point of launching till point of impact, the cruise missile maintain their engine to maintain the supersonic and hypersonic speed, while the ballistic missiles are different in launch, and they need advanced weather station to give them the high altitude weather, speed of wind and direction, because this will affect the trajectory of the missile. The launching, the ballistic missiles will depend on the engine. So this missile, after launching, it must reach a point in the sky, which if they reach this point, then it will drop ballistic without an engine. The engine job is to make the missile reach this point in the space. And by reaching this point in the space, the ballistic missile will point toward the target. So if the ballistic missile did not reach this target for a certain reason, then it cannot reach the target. So this part is with the engine power, and this part is with the trajectory of the ground gravity and the weight of the missile, which maintain the speed till it reaches the target.
Can I ask, for interception, in terms of interceptions, what are the different courses of action between it before it reaches that point and then after it reaches that particular point?
Well, as we say, we call it prevention and punishment.
Mm.
Your target is, as an operator, air defense operator or air defense as a pilot, a fighter aircraft against airborne targets. Your objective and mission is to prevent the that the target will reach the fighter attack or the missile to reach the target.
Right.
So that's their mission and their objective. And your objective is to prevent that. But once this fighter or missile achieve the target, okay, the missiles will be destroyed. But for example, if a fighter pilot targeted on the ground and he put his bombs or missiles on the target, then he have to go back. So in this matter, if I follow him and shoot him down, it is punishment.
Mm.
Why you did that, and which is it's a failure. So our target or our main point is avoiding that situation. Otherwise, then it will be as a punishment for whoever who attacked and completed his mission. So did I answer your question?
Yes, yes, thank you.
Okay.
Well, I want to ask you some more about that and other current events related to this situation, but we're going to take a really quick break, and then we'll get back to our special interview. Thanks for joining us. Welcome back to our live coverage on this special interview with Mr. Yousef. We'll continue our interview now. Thanks again for joining us. I wanted to talk to you now about shifting a little bit. CENTCOM has recently, rather repeatedly emphasized that the recent strikes targeted Iranian missile command centers, drone facilities, coastal surveillance networks, as well as maritime defense systems, not just launch sites. With this in mind, does this indicate that future wars will increasingly focus on destroying an adversary's so-called kill chain before missiles are launched?
Well, this issue is part of the attacker, or part of one side against the other, and at the same time, the other side will try to do the same. If we stop the chain from the point that manufacturing, and if you are not manufacturing, you are putting the parts together to make it ready as for the drones or the missiles, and then put them in a launching vehicles, and there is transports, and you may pass bridges to reach a specific point to launch your missile. So this is a chain. Mm-hmm. If you break this chain, then you achieve something. If you break two places in the chain, then your achievement is higher. Mm-hmm. If you destroy the whole chain, then objective is achieved. So it is sometimes you cannot, or you don't know where is the location of the launching site, but you know that they are using this bridge to reach the launching site. So if I destroy the bridge, I break a piece of the chain. So the more professional you are, and the more capabilities you have, and the more assets you have, like satellites, you will have a good picture of what you have to do to prevent any hostile activity against your country. So the more you have facilities that you can use to prevent any attack, then it is, as you said, so it is not only here now these days, it is in every operation since humans start fighting with each other.
Of course.
So.
Speaking of that, kind of veering a little bit, but on the same topic, speaking of breaking that chain and that what happens behind the scenes, because you're an expert in this field, many of our viewers are a bit, at best, maybe interested or have a hobby of learning about these things. What would you say is something that happens behind the scenes to stop these chain of events, to preventative measures that are maybe most surprising to the average citizen who wouldn't realize that these are key steps in interception, in prevention, in awareness?
Well, in military life, there is a lot of sequence from planning till achievement, okay? And it is not easy for the civilians to understand these steps on wartime and in the crisis and actual operations. They just see you know, a splash in the air, and they don't know what's happened, and then rumors start, and we have smart people that they will explain, and sometimes I see this situation in Diwaniyas in Kuwait, where there is some people that they are far away, they are not experts in military.
Right.
And I respect you have a PhD on economic. So when you talk about economic, I will raise my hat for you. But don't talk about military when there is a professional is sitting near you.
Exactly.
Okay. So, and this is, as we say, that this is the culture in Kuwait. Everybody like to show, oh, not everybody, I'm sorry. Some people like to show themselves. So I don't know if I answer your question, or you want me elaborate more?
No, that was good. Thank you. I also think that you see it in social media as well too, and not just here. A lot of people have their opinions that they like to add to these situations, whether or not they're professionals. So it's important that we stick to what the officials.
I respect the professional people that they talk about things that they studied, and by being with academical degree, with respect, life, military life is different. There is years of experience, there is years of study. As you studied and you spend lots of years to get your degree, I will appreciate if they stick to their professional, okay, as that we like to hear from professional. So I think this is everywhere. We see American personnel who come and talk about the situation and what's happening in the Gulf. And by studying his background, he used to be a captain. So captain in the level of military rank is a down,
Right. Like
not a down on respect, but it is a down on the chain of command, where he could not say, do this or do that. He, in captain, lieutenant, captain, maybe major, you do what they tell you to do. So I think these levels, they say yes sir more than they say do that. So there is a command chain, and the more that the command chain is a professional, then the end of the line, as all the way to the soldier, you will see the effect of the professional behavior of the higher rank, which they lead the battle area or the theater. In general, well, I will keep this idea because I have more to say, and I will wait for the second question.
I'm sure we could talk about that last question for a while. Yeah, it's very complicated and in-depth. Recent conflicts have demonstrated disrupting civilian infrastructure can achieve strategic effects comparable to military strikes. If we are conducting a national risk assessment today, which three critical sectors would you classify as the highest priority assets for protection, and why?
Let's talk in general. Each country, without any differences in size and military power and technology and weapon construction and deployment, whatever these countries level, there is strategic facilities that will affect each country. So in general, for example, ports, airports, maritime ports, these ports are a strategic target. They will paralyze your movement from sea or air. So this is one point that is every country is concerned about this strategic facilities. Refineries. Well, especially in the Gulf area, Southern America, Russia, Gulf area. So many countries depend on the oil, and oil sector is the chain. One of the chain oil sector is getting the oil from the ground. Okay, so this second point, strategic point, and the third one is electric and water supply. We see what's happening between Russia and Ukraine. There is, railway stations as from the port. There is electric and facilities. So each country have a priority in putting these facilities that they have and they must defend. So it is not just Kuwait, it is a worldwide and concern. It is a concern in each level, strategic level, political, military, and there is some kind of an interest to prevent anything happening to these facilities. And I think only there is others, but I think these are the three major points which have to be put in concern.
I understand. We're going to take a really quick break before we come back to continue our interview. Please stay with us. Thanks for joining us. We're still live covering the regional events. Thanks for being here with our live coverage. Go back to our interview with Mr. Yousef Almulla. Throughout this conflict, many interceptions have occurred without the public's awareness of what was happening overhead. From an operational standpoint, what determines whether a threat is intercepted by Patriot batteries, NASAMS, fighter aircraft, or other air defense assets?
NASAMS.
NASAMS, okay.
NASAMS, which is abbreviation, and we'll talk about it. And so, about who knows what happened after locating a target on the radar and pushing the button to intercept and then disappear. The target will disappear from the radar screen. So the operational person who is in charge of the air defense site which launched the missile, they know. And
the best way to counter it.
Once the missile disappears from the radar, they know that their missile is reached, you know. And then there is a tactical thing that they lose the sight of their missile also. So there is an impact between the target and the missile, and the intercepted. There is a good, successful interception. So, and then he announced it to his chain of command all the way till it reached the news that we targeted and defended Kuwait or the country from the missile or drone attacks. That's one. So, and if you are a fighter pilot and you are intercepting, then either visually, which if you are short range, or you are using a long range missile, it will disappear from your target and you will lose your missiles, and this also will give you an indication that you hit the target. So as an operator, as a pilot now, you know, and then you announce it to the station which is in charge of your mission from the ground, and then they scratch one target, and that's what happens. So about the air defense system, which is NASAM, it is a national. It stands for National Advanced Surface-to-Air Missile System, NASAM, and it is a joint venture from United States and Norway. It is combat tested. You know, the companies, sometime when they have a new missile in the market and it is their product and it is not tested, the price of this missile will be very, not cheap, but comparing to other missiles from the same category, you will be, the price is very low. But when it's combat tested, the price jump high because it shows that this is effective and successful system. So NASAMS approve that, and they say it is combat tested. So therefore, many countries, they are using this NASAMS. Oman, if we talk in the region, Oman, Qatar have it. Kuwait in the past 2 months, in June or April, signed a contract which is to get this air defense system into the Kuwait Armed Forces. in general, you cannot stick to one air defense system.
Each has its strong suits, I assume.
Exactly. And you are an air defense officer, huh?
No.
I mean, you have to have a package of systems, not one, not just Patriot, not NOTAMs, not shoulder missiles, AAA, many systems. You have to mix them together to put layers of defense before the target. And the more is important is the target, the more layers. Israel have the Iron Dome. And what's that mean? Do they have a real Iron Dome on the top? No. They have layers of missiles, okay? And distance on their favor is about 1,500 kilometers from Irani side to Israel. That's one. And they have the advanced capability, which is they get the information of any launching capability by the United States satellites and their satellites. So they know that there is a launch and there is layers will give the information about the missiles, and then they will be ready for penetration. And that will bring us for something. There is no zero penetration capability.
Every one of these has some sort of effect.
And there is no 100% penetration for the attacker. So Ukraine targeting Russia, and there is drones are hitting the target. It's superpower. So there is no zero penetration. There is a percentage of penetration. And what I cannot talk about other countries, but I can talk about Kuwait. The penetration level in Kuwait defense environment is very high. It's more than 90%, which is which shows that the level of professionalism of the air defense people. They are, because of the short distance, then your actual time is short. Because the flat terrain, then it is very difficult to detect the target because they go low level. Or the missiles, then it is a very short time. Imagine that we are only about less than 200 kilometers from launching site. So, and the attacker have the right, the priority of choosing what time he wants to launch. Now, as a defensor, what you are doing, you are waiting and waiting and waiting, and this is a frustrating situation that you are worrying, and you are not. You are worrying that you may miss seeing the target because of small reflect in the radar site, which you missed seeing the target. So this situation is creating a very hard situation, a very hard condition on the air defense people, but they are doing a great job, and we should salute them because of not just days weeks, months. It is a continuous operation 24/7 in the past few months, which is as an officer, I feel proud of the air defense people, you know, and you know, I am happy that we have a great personnel that they are defending us, and they are making us sleep without that much worry. Yani.
Of course. I want to ask you one more question before we move on to a report, because it has to do with what you were just talking about. Could you talk a bit about how important it is for radar integration and early warning data sharing with allies in giving those extra few minutes to respond?
In the air warfare situation, time is very limited. It is not, it may go to seconds from the time of seeing the target, acquisitioning the target. So we are talking about seconds, and if more distance, more information, then we are talking about minutes. So the air warfare and the operations are very fast, while the maritime, the speed is low, and you are stable, and you can take a break. So the maritime warfare is different. The ground, but they are also limited because in motion. The ground personnel also, they are limited, but they are the major point of achieving the victory, the ground forces. Without ground forces, you cannot achieve victory. And with maritime, so the maritime, you can gain the information and exchange the information, and you have the time to do it. But in air defense, the time is very limited, very limited. It is a time matter. But it definitely, by exchanging information, exchanging intelligent information, definitely will help to prevent at the end.
Yeah. I have more questions for you on that in a minute, but first we're going to move to this report on other current events connected to this. Oil prices fell by around 4% to a third-week low after comments by Qatar and U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bassett raised hopes for a diplomatic resolution to the Middle East conflicts, which would improve oil flows through the Strait of Hormuz. More in this report.
Oil prices fell by around 4% to a three-week low after comments by Qatar and U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent raised hopes for a diplomatic resolution to the Middle East conflict, which would improve oil flows through the Strait of Hormuz. Front-month Brent futures fell by about 3.71% to $80.66 per barrel, and after hitting a session high of $86.33 a barrel. U.S. West Texas Intermediate, on the other hand, WTI crude was down 4%, 0.46% at $76.76 a barrel after touching a session high of $82.33 a barrel. Both contracts fell on their lowest level since July 13th. Early in the session, both benchmarks had risen more than 2% on uncertainty over prospects for a U.S.-Iran agreement. Qatar Foreign Ministry spokesperson Majid Al-Ansari said efforts to secure a diplomatic resolution to the conflict were continuing, with mediators including Qatar, Pakistan and Oman coordinating closely to facilitate negotiations and exchange draft proposals between the two sides. U.S. Treasury Secretary Bessent said on Tuesday a deal with Iran to reopen the Strait of Hormuz could come as soon as Tuesday or Wednesday. Bessent told CNBC he had seen quite a few ships exiting the Strait of Hormuz. The Hormuz dispute is a central sticking point in talks Before the conflict began in late February, the Strait of Hormuz handled about 1/5 of global daily oil and liquefied natural gas supplies. Oil prices rose earlier after incidents in the strait and after senior Iranian sources told media that Iran wants control over inbound shipping through the Strait of Hormuz and visibility over outbound traffic, with the ability to intervene if necessary, and a plan being discussed with Oman to reopen the strategic waterway. Iran is betting it can outlast Washington by turning the Middle East trade routes, shipping lanes, and energy infrastructure into pressure points that steadily raise the cost of confrontation, according to Gulf officials and analysts. Rather than seeking a decisive military victory, Tehran is pursuing a strategy of calibrated escalation aimed at widening the conflict without triggering full-scale war. The goal, they say, is to convince the United States and its allies that containing the crisis is costlier than accommodating Iran's demands over the Strait of Hormuz. The message from Tehran is that unless Washington accepts a new status quo that gives Iran a greater role in Hormuz, the conflict could spread beyond the Gulf. By putting multiple maritime choke points and energy assets at risk, Iran believes it can strengthen its hand in any future negotiations. The Strait of Hormuz handled about 1/5 of global oil supplies before the war erupted on February 28th, since the conflict began in late February. Tehran has since taken effective control of the strait, allowing it to force a stalemate in its confrontation with the world's most powerful military.
To our live program, we're going to continue our interview with Mr. Yousef before we wrap up this coverage. During the conflict, Gulf states have relied heavily on intelligence, sharing and integrated air defense coordination with partners, yet there's still no fully unified GCC missile defense architecture. In your opinion, what would you say is preventing true regional integration in this matter? Would you say it's technology, interoperability, political decision-making, or would you say it's command structure, or maybe a combination of these things?
Let's cross the first from the 4 point you mentioned, technology. I don't think it is a big matter there. Or a command structure. I don't think that they have a problem in the Gulf area. So the interoperability, that's a good issue, and a political decision making, this is second issue. And I may add one more, is weapon availability. United States, for example, they have a system, they will approve or don't approve your request. So these 3 points will affect the situation. There is a geographical issues that as we mentioned before, that will push you to get that type of weapon, okay? And as we said, that if you have no sea, then you will not buy a ship. So it is the needs, that's one, and the regional situation, political situation, and the relation between the countries. Iraq was an assured friend before the invasion, and then changed to be assured enemy. So it's a jump between the relation. So it is also the size of the country will be an issue to buy and gain and receive these weapons to be used effectively in the country. So I think that's the way I think it is. But technology, I don't think that's the matter.
Mm-hmm. One last question before we wrap up, while we have you. Recent military operations have shown how relatively inexpensive drones can force billion-dollar air defense systems into action. Is the Gulf entering an era where where the economics of warfare increasingly favors the attackers? And how should GCC militaries adapt procurement strategies to avoid exhausting these costly interceptor and inventories against low-cost threats?
Well, the French say it's c'est la vie. It is life. And what I mean by that, is every weapon in the region, it have its own capability of, and it shows that this country is using that weapon against others, for example the missiles and the drones. In Kuwait we cannot start attacking because it's in the constitution it is prohibited, and as we see on the past few months that our leaders, they are in the Gulf area, they are patient, and this is wisdom. Because if we compare that we're sticking to defend our country and to show the whole world that we are under attack all the time, and this will be clear, crystal clear situation. While if we start attacking, responding, passing our border, now this will make the situation fake, which will affect our situation politically, and so I think in general that we have to survive on this situation using wisdom. So
I think that's a great conclusion to end our live on. Mr. Yousef Almulla, thank you so much for sharing your expertise. It's been a pleasure to have you with us, and we look forward to having you again to pick your brain. Thanks again for joining us today.
Thank you for having me in this program.
As this live coverage comes to end, the situation remains fluid, with developments across the Middle East continuing to influence regional stability, economic resilience, and international coordination efforts. While cautious progress is being made through diplomatic channels and gradual operational adjustments, the path towards lasting normality remains uncertain and dependent on sustained cooperation and de-escalation. The coming period will be decisive in shaping both immediate recovery as well as long-term stability across the region. We pray to Allah Almighty for the continued safety and security of our beloved Kuwait and the entire GCC region. Dear viewers, thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next time.